Well, good evening, dear friends. It is Orrin. Most delighted to share with you all this evening. Absolutely. And a wondrous time it is likely to be. If we all get to participate together, we all choose to have that wondrous experience. Because intention has a lot to do with what one experiences. Thoughts, intentions, feelings, all kinds of stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. What does create our experience in this version of reality? There's actually a lot of different levels of that. It is said here that thoughts create reality. Technically, that's not accurate. Thoughts don't really create. Thoughts are a mold through which creation can happen. It's like drawing a circle around or making a target of some specific experience that you'd like to have. So when you hold a thought of something, anything, it is basically a mold. That's a picture, that's a circle around which that potential can manifest. But that potential, that circle, that mold, is filled with something. There's levels of that something, and that something is on an emotional level, which would be an ego-based emotional state, or it's on a feeling level, which is a soul-based state. And the more toward the feeling side of things it is, the more love, the more joy, the more peace, etc., the more permanently such things can manifest, the more effortlessly such things can manifest. So whenever holding a vision for something, it's a good idea to fill it with the purest feeling state that you can possibly manage. Love, gratitude, appreciation. Gratitude being exceptionally powerful. Love being an exceptionally powerful essence to fill that mold with. Now, one of the reasons that's important is because whenever you're using those soul level states of being, like love or gratitude or appreciation, things like that, it automatically includes a default, okay, or a safety. There's a safety mechanism built in. Now, a lot of people will set an intention for something and they'll say this or something better. And it's a good idea. This is something better, this or something more in alignment with who I am, my path, my joy, etc. Whenever you fill it with love, that's built in. So the thing that most coincides with who you are now and who you are evolving to become can be accommodated. Also, because of that love and because of the depth and breadth of that love, if what your mind has initially envisioned truly is not in resonance with you for some reason, okay, truly not appropriate for your path in some way, then rather than that thing manifesting, there will be fits and starts and struggles and confusion and doubts or low energy, or there'll be all kinds of things that happen to redirect your attention. It's like, wait a minute, maybe that's not the ideal. What could be? And so you can adjust your attention to accommodate the ideal intention so that your head is in alignment with your heart. One of the things that prevents people from manifesting more fluidly, whatever it is they're trying to create in their experience, is the fact that their head and their heart are not truly in alignment. And that can slow the process down considerably. It won't stop it necessarily, but it can slow it down considerably. Because if your head's looking over here and your heart's looking over there, they're not matching. Most people have felt a situation where they're not really in it. It's like, well, I'm here at this function, or I'm here at this job, or I'm here at this whatever I happen to be doing, but I'm really not there. My head is somewhere else. Or my heart is somewhere else. I may have to concentrate very diligently on this activity, but my heart wants me to be somewhere else. I'm at home when I want to be working, or I'm working when I want to be home, or whatever the case might be. And so where your heart is where you really are. And if your head's not where your heart is, it's extremely difficult to function effectively. Well, the same kind of thing with manifesting intentions. If your head and your heart's not in the same place, it's very, very difficult. One of the challenges that we notice for humanity is sometimes you don't realize your head and heart are not in the same place. Sounds like a good idea in my head. Of course I would want this, that, or the other thing. And I can muster that excitement, I can muster that intensity, but it's really not quite where I'm at. And so there's a deeper level of honesty that can go on, a deeper level of awareness that can happen, so that one sees what it is you really want. If you're struggling, if you're intending, if you're praying, if you're doing whatever it is you're doing, and something isn't happening as fluidly as you think it should, then you might want to look just a little bit deeper at what it is you really want. Now, so far we've been talking basically on the level of things manifested in this version of reality. Things are important in this version of reality. Interacting with those things is important. Situations, people, stuff that you might have, the house, the car, the money, all that. But there's really a level beyond that wherein your mind doesn't have to focus so much on the things, but on that fundamental essence. One of the examples that we like to use is if you are intending relaxation, there are hundreds of possible ways that can be facilitated. Some of those ways are more or less in alignment with who you are. If that's the case, then it helps to be aware of those things. However, the way your consciousness works is that if you're intending relaxation, that essence, that fundamental state of being called relaxed, your spirit can orchestrate all kinds of ways that are immediately accessible for relaxation. And so your consciousness is looking for what's most available, most relevant, what's nearest to you energetically. Now that has nothing to do with being nearest to you geographically. Sometimes they can be very, very, very different. But it's those feeling states, because consciousness works on a principle of resonance. Those things that are most like in resonance. And so whenever you are intending anything, in this version of reality at least, there is a vibrational tone that goes with that. Not so much with the thought you have, but with the feeling state. The higher the feeling state, the more broad the possibilities, and the faster things can happen. Now, one of the catches, if you will, some of the fine print for creating your experience is understanding that you are already, always creating your experience moment to moment, whether you think about it or not, whether you intend it or not. It is happening, because in this version of reality, you are vibrational beings. As such, you're always vibrating. You're always putting out actually a multitude of different frequencies simultaneously. Some of those are attracting harmonious experiences. Some of those are attracting contrary experiences, conflicts of some kind. Well, like attracts like, the resonance is there, and so it happens. So, in some respects, it's not about how do I manifest an experience more to my liking, but to recognize how I am indeed already doing so. Because one of the biggest hurdles to altering your experience in this version of reality is accepting that you can do that. Because the mind can say, oh wow, that seems really esoteric, really beyond my grasp. Even though intellectually it may make perfect sense, there will be parts of you going, I don't know about that. Well, when you see how you're already doing that, then you're over the hurdle. You're already there. Well, and if I can do it in this way, I can do it in that way, and I can do it in that way, and I can do it that way. The pattern is already set. It's already built into who you are as a being. So it's a matter of simply consciously using that pattern more and more frequently, more and more fully, to your benefit, to your advantage, to your direct intention. You are that. So beyond simple tools and techniques, there is the understanding that I'm already there, already doing that. And so what is it do I want to experience more of? Well, the more love you put into the system, the more love you get back. The more joy you put into the system, whatever the molds are for you right now, without you ever even knowing what they are, never cataloging them, never even identifying them, the molds are there. So when you start pouring more love into them, more love starts coming back. The beautiful thing about that is, if you start pouring love into molds that really don't suit your consciousness, well then they dissipate, because they're no longer relevant. They don't fit. okay, with who you are. If they don't match who you are and who you're growing to be, they will naturally dissolve, and new molds can take their place. You might think of them as new inspirations. Hey, I got a new idea, I want to do this, or I'd like to have that, or whatever the case might be. Or, you're cruising along, going through your house, going, hey, this doesn't match who I am anymore. Off to Goodwill or to the garage sale or whatever people do with things here. You let that go because it no longer matches, and you're making room for something that does. You're letting go of attitudes, beliefs, because beliefs are great molds. They're molds that you've carried with you, some of them, for lifetimes. Those belief constructs, especially the ones about yourself, what you believe about you, they're some of the fundamental, original molds. If you've carried a belief all of your life, if everybody you know carries the same belief, so you get it confirmed externally, then as far as you're concerned, it's not a belief anymore, it's a fact. It's how it is. The problem with how it is that it's not how it is. It's only one way it can be. The only how it is that you can for sure count on is that love-based, from the heart, from the soul, from the divine. Okay, that how it is you can count on. Everything else? No. It is as changeable as clothes. However, it's just like a lot of people, you get stuck on a favorite piece of jewelry or a favorite kind of clothing, and pretty much you're just wearing that all the time. And yes, I know not everyone here does that sort of thing, but some people definitely do. It's like, well, I favor that, I favor that, I favor that. That's me. Well, no, it's not, but if you think it is, it is. If it's all you've ever known in that context, then it is. But if what you know isn't enriching you, if it isn't fulfilling you, if it is in some way contrary to love, to joy, to peace, if it's a struggle, if it's a fear, if it's an anger, if it's a shame, it's a guilt or regret or remorse, etc., then there's probably a more refined perspective. If you have those judgments, as most people do, consciously or unconsciously, sometimes very, very deeply buried, about yourself, that belief construct, that identity, is guaranteed to emanate a vibration that will continue to create circumstances, small or large, that match the belief. They have to. It's a cosmic law. Inescapable. Until the belief changes. And changing the belief is not exactly the same as wiping dust off the counter. And some of those beliefs are so deeply buried that no way you're going to find them on your own. Fortunately, you have a soul, very wise and loving soul, that knows exactly the map of your psyche. Knows what beliefs are most supportive of who you are, what beliefs need to change in order to experience more of who you are. And believe me, it is delighted, thrilled, ecstatic for an opportunity to relieve you of those burdens. And so, it goes back to asking for guidance, meditating, being open to what is. And when you're challenged, when you're confronted with an external reminder of an internal belief that you don't like, that doesn't feel good, that isn't real for you in some way, not comfortable for you in some way, well, thank you, Spirit, for that reminder so that I can get clear about who I really am, so I can become more conscious of, more in tune with my pristine state. Because it really is about refinement. So relieving yourself first of self-judgment, pulling yourself into that more oneness-based attitude, there is nothing wrong. There's simply conditions. And so you, as a being, are not wrong. You're not deficient, but you may not be fully refined yet. Which, of course, is part of why you're here, is to get polished, to get refined. Now, it's not the only reason you're here, but this is certainly one of the reasons, from an evolutionary perspective, that you're here. Okay? Get refined and express that refinement. Get a little more joyful, express that joy. Get a little more peaceful, express that peace. Get a little more loving, express that love. Because that really is what it's about.